Hello, good morning, everyone. Yep, my name is Mo Taya. I'm your instructor, and we start with the introduction to human anatomy. So I got this diagram from Quora. I believe some of you guys read Quora. It's not a bad website, it's pretty good for the knowledge. And I got these diagram from the Quora, like this is the human anatomy professor who was teaching anatomy in this way, which is not a bad thing because the way we need to know at the end of the anatomy this semester, we need to know which organs are where and how do they connect to each other, and some basic functions about the organ. Of course, anatomy is not a study of the organ and function. Anatomy is the study of the structure of the human body, which means like what is the shape of the kidneys, where do they locate, and so on. So the difference from anatomy and physiology is concerned with the function, and anatomy is the study of the structure, the way the organs are made of, the ways the organs are located, how are they connected to each other, how are they being built. So that is the anatomy. How do we classify anatomy? We can easily classify anatomy into, let's say, two: gross anatomy and microscopic anatomy. Gross anatomy means whatever you see with your naked eye, anything vivid in front of your mind. Like the muscle you see is gross anatomy. If you open someone's tummy, let's say the exploratory laparotomy, if you look inside the abdomen, these are the organs you see inside the abdomen. That is gross anatomy. Microscopic anatomy, in other words, you have to use a microscope. So we will have a topic about microscope. And under the microscopic anatomy, we can stay divided into two groups, like histology and cytology. Of course, if we are studying a solid structure tissue, for example, let's say if you are one of the pathology team and the surgical team remove a tumor and give it to you guys, and you guys as a pathology team, we prepare this tumor, slice it, make it thinly sliced, put it on the glass slide, prepare it so that it can be looked underneath the microscope. That is the process, and that is called histology. Cytology means it is studying the fluid. So, for example, if a patient present to the ER with painful swollen knee joint, let's say if the clinician aspirate the fluid from the knee joint and give it to you, you as a pathology team, take that, look under the microscope, that fluid being studied with the microscope, it will be cytology. So that's the difference between histology and cytology. Of course, they are both under the name microscopic anatomy. The same thing, like, we can group the organs in their different regions. For example, like in the thorax means our chest. Inside the chest, we have the heart and the lungs and the big vessels just coming up from the heart. So if we study the thoracic anatomy, we'll be studying about heart and lungs and major vessels. So that will be regional anatomy. Systemic anatomy means it relates with the organs and their associated function. For example, like if we study the heart and the blood vessel, and that is the study of cardiovascular system, this systemic anatomy. So we can divide like that as well. So this is the gross vivid eye. You see everything with your naked eye. If we study this human body, it will be gross anatomy. And if we are using the microscope, we will see this is microscopic anatomy. And I always say a human being, it is a multi-billion cellular living organism. Of course, I want you to look on the internet, how many cells do we have in our body? So of course, it might vary depending on the different articles you read, but most of them will say about 40 trillions of cells. A human being is made of 40 trillions of cells. A human body, in generally, I will say, it is a human being is made of body and mind, or body and soul. So this is just a little joke, like somebody in 1907, look at that. This doctor, New York physician, tried to weigh the weight of the human soul. Of course, no one accepted that, but it's not a bad thing to know. Yeah, as I said, there are trillions of cells in our body, and these cells, trillions, what is the components? Of course, erythrocyte, which is the red blood cell, which makes about 84% of the total human cell count. If you look at that, our muscle cell, although they are big, they are just very small portion. If you look at the epidermis and dermis cell, they are just about combination of 0.6%, and so on. The fat in our body contributes about 0.2% of the total cell we have. A human being, which is start with the chemical level, like all the carbons and hydrogens and nitrogens and combination. And finally, these combination, let's say, they become a cell. And as I say, like trillions of cells in our body. But if we group these trillions of cells, then we only get 4 different types of tissue. That is the beauty, of course, and that's 4 types of tissue we have to differentiate in multiple level, because it is such a big thing to differentiate 40 trillion cells. But anyway, there are 4 types of tissue in our body, and tissues are made of cells which have the similar function. Okay, similar function of cells grouped together to form tissue. And there are only 4 main types of tissue in our body. And these tissue, for example, like cardiac muscle tissue, skeletal muscle tissue, this cardiac muscle tissue we group together to form the organ which we call the heart. And this type of tissue which makes the blood vessel combine together to form the arteries and veins. And finally, if we connect these arteries, veins, and the heart, we get the organ system, cardiovascular system. Of course, finally, we have many systems in our body. And if we organize these systems, group together, combine together, rub with the human skin, we will get a human being. So along our semester, we will have to study about integumentary system, which is the skin, skeletal system, of course, that's the bone. Muscular system, the muscle, like cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, smooth muscle. Nervous system, the brain, spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves. Endocrine system, which is hormone system, cardiovascular system, the heart and the blood vessel, lymphatics and immune system, respiratory system, that's our breathing system, digestive system, which is also called gastrointestinal tract, and the urinary system, that is urine producing and reproductive system. We have to study all these things. This is the beginning of our anatomy lecture. And this is the anatomical position. I believe you know who they are. This is the President Richard Nixon, and this is the Elvis Presley. So what are they doing? They are shaking hands. Which hands are they using? They are using the right hands. So the same thing like in anatomical position. Anatomical position means the patient or the cadaver or the diagram is standing upright, facing forward, with the palms of their hands facing forward, with the feet parallel together and pointing forward. So this is the anatomical position. And we will say, this is the right hand of the Elvis. This is the right hand of the Richard Nixon. And so this is the right arm, right hand of this cadaver, and this is the left hand. So I want you to take it. It is not from the view we have, it is the person's right and left. So we were in the later lectures, whenever we say which is right and which is left, I mean, we until mentioned otherwise, we will take it the human body is in the anatomical position, and the right side, hey, it is right, yeah, left side is left. And if you look at the thumb, of course, the palm is facing forward, the thumb is farther away from the midline, and the little finger is closer to the midline. And therefore, we will say the thumb is lateral and little finger is medial, because it is closer to the midline, and this is the farther away from the midline. The same thing, like if you look at the knee is here, the ankle is here. And the knee is closer to the origin of the limb, and therefore the knee is proximal and the ankle is distal to the knee. So if you compare the knee and the hip joint is proximal because it is closer to the origin of the limb, and knee is farther away from the origin of the limb. So the knee is distal to the hip. The knee is proximal to the ankle. Of course, we are looking this